Now, something that needs to be set up a very specific way is the player object. With the player object, we had to cram a lot of different animations and moves into just 8 action steps, so they are somewhat locked in unless you're willing to do some coding to change things. We will go through each action step one at a time, and how to set up the animations specifically is something you will need to pay attention to. The first thing we're going to look at for the player object is the object details. I'm going to pull it up by clicking the object details window and then going to the details tab. The health needs to be set up something high, not just 2, 3, or 5, because that would mean you would die within 3 or 5 hits, and maybe that's the sort of action game you want to make, but most of these types of beat 'em ups want you to have a few more hits than that. The object reaction, solid object reaction is stop, and then edge object reaction is to go to next screen, so it forces the next screen. The max speed is up to you. I like defaulting to 16, so it's a nice pace. Maximum acceleration speed, and then the jump speed I got set to 69 right now. You can adjust it however you want. 69 will let you jump onto one tall block, but not all the way up onto a 2 tall block, so it's a nice place to set it. The monster flags we're going to set up as persistent and player. Now the bounding box needs to be set to just around your player's feet. Think of it as a personal space square and not your actual collision box. Because the z-axis takes care of everything else, this is basically an outline for around the player's feet, really. For animations, there are quite a few that you're going to need to set up. On the screen now, there's going to be a full listing of all the different animations. We have idle, which is just standing still. Idle while carrying, which is standing still while having your arms over your head like you're lifting something. Walking, then walking while carrying, so walking and at the same time your arms over your head carrying something. There's jumping and jump kicking, which are two different things. Then there's combo attack, which is basically the left and right punch is how I have it in this demonstration, but you can have it to whatever attack you want. Basically one attack and then a follow-up second attack, all part of one animation. Then you have the upwards attack. In my example, I have a uppercut move because there's a little bit of a jump that's involved whenever you do this move. It's triggered by hitting the attack button and then jump button while you're attacking. And then we also have the pick up object animation, a parried animation, which is what happens when a player gets deflected. When a player attacks and the monster blocks it, the player is deflected, he's parried. We also have a hurt animation that happens whenever the player gets damaged, a block animation, which takes place whenever the player blocks incoming damage. And then we have a super attack animation, which is definitely open to interpretation for you. You need all of these animations in both facing left and facing right. First, we have action step 0, which is your idle animation, standing still. You just want it to loop, and you're not really doing much at all with that, except when you're looking at your idle animation, when you're setting that up, your up right and up left animations are for when you're carrying an object and not moving. So the up left and up right angles should be set to a different animation where you're animated like you're carrying an object. For action step 1 is your walking animation. Now, just like the idle animation, your walking animation with up right and up left, you'll want to animate a little differently to show that your player is not just walking, but also carrying something over their head. Now action step 2 is your attack animation. It is a little trickier than the first two because you're going to need to set up both an end action and an end animation timer here. This is how we allow for the combo attack to work. The attack animation should include 2 attacks. So when you're animating the attack, in this case, it'll be a left and a right punch. Let's see, left, right, or whatever you decide the attack should be. The end action timer for this punch should be check for combo, which is what we will use to decide to continue on with a second attack or if it just stops punching. It checks to see if the B button's been hit a second time. The end animation should be set to go to first, where it'll just return back to idle once the attack is over. Action step 3 is your jump animation. It should be set to loop on both the end action and end animation. The animations themselves should be set up with just regular jumping, except for your down right and down left are your kicking animations. Or not necessarily kicking, but your aerial attack animations. In this case, it's a jump kick. So I set it to jump kick, left or right. The reason we do this is to be able to cram not just the jumping, but the jump kicking into one action step using the angled animations. Now action step 4 is your super attack. This is the animation that happens when you do the super attack. The end animation should be set to go to first. Ignore attacks is probably a good action step flag to have checked. This way you won't be able to be interrupted while you're doing the super attack. Action step 5 is your upwards attack. In the example I have here, it's an uppercut, but you can set it, of course, to do whatever you like. There's a slight jump when you're doing this attack. The end actions should be set to go to first, and the end animation should be set to loop. The timer on it should be set to right when your animation is about to end. Action step 6 is the most complicated of all of them. It does 3 things. It allows the player to block attacks. It's also the animation for when you're picking up objects, and it's also for when you're animating when the player is being parried. If the player attacks an object that is blocking, the player gets parried and gets kind of stuttered back a bit. I will show you what those animations look like. Here is the parried animation. So he's punching, but oh, he gets kind of flung back a little. The pickup is just dropping down, then standing back up. And the block is if the player is not pressing a button at all when the monster attacks and you're facing the monster, it will automatically block the attack, and it'll look like you're just trying to deflect the monster's attack. Now the way the animations are set up for this animation is down is blocking, down right is parrying, right is blocking, upright is picking up is blocking, up left is picking up, left is blocking, and down left is parrying. So they're all block except for down right, like down right and down left are parrying, and upright and up left are picking up. end animation on this action step should be set to go to first, and end action should be set to loop. No timer needed. Now, action step 7 is your hurt animation for when the player receives damage. The end action on it should be set to go to first with a timer for how long you want the damage to last. Basically, how long you want the player to be stunned. That one's a fairly simple one.